Chamber of Commerce for putting this event on, because it's a good way for us as politicians to get out and meet the general public and the taxpayers of the community. So I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for doing this. I'm a unique speech writer because, of course, all the media wanted my speech in advance. I said, well, I only speak on 10 points. But again, this year, number 10, I will take questions and answers. I found that was a very popular thing to do last year. It's a little risky this year because they had a whole year to think of the questions. Last year I sort of surprised them, so they didn't know what to ask me. So this year I'll be wide open. First of all, I'm going to start off on talking about our leadership style now at City Hall. One of the unique things that I want to announce today is that we do have an extra table. They'll notice that we do have some City of Prince Albert tables. Well, some of our tables now, we have all members of our 4 bargaining units, our union people, have joined us today, and I'm very pleased that they came because they are a major part of our team. We're going to talk to them and listen to them and see how we can save money, and they're on the front lines and they'll be able to help us out with that situation. So I'd like to welcome them and thank them for coming because we're going to move forward. Some of our other partners that we have here, of course, we have the RMs, which we're soon going to have an alliance with to move our region forward. We have Vice Chief Tusani here in his group. First Nations is a very important part of our community. So talking about our leadership style, well, how do I describe that? I have a council that's on the far left. I have a council that's on the far right, and I'm in the middle. So what I like about it is everyone has an opportunity to be heard and to bring their questions. One of the things I do like about council is every Monday I sit there and say, is this going to pass? Because you don't know anymore, and I think that's what is exciting, because anything that comes to us, we listen to the community, we listen to our stakeholders, and then we make the best decisions we can. Are we perfect? No, we're not. But I don't think anyone is. And what we try to do is we do what we think is right, and one day we may have to go back and correct that. But when you do changes, things happen. So it's a great opportunity. So what I want to do is start off, talk about one of our biggest goals that happened in 2013, and that was our infrastructure. And I called this part of my presentation, Your Tax Dollars at Work. Because that's what we spend. We spend taxpayers' dollars, and we hope we spend them wisely. So actually, I asked the department engineering, of course, to supply me a list, and I had to edit it because I told them I only have 40 minutes, and I want to have question and answers. But I think a few of them are worth mentioning and how we did it. First of all, our paving program, we introduced base tax of $189 for every household, and then a formula for commercial properties. And so I think it's important that they know how we spent their money. And I think it's important that they know that this paving program was a partnership of B&B Paving and our city crews. And I have to explain that, and I'll explain it to this. B&B did the paving program, which we had $4 million. We got 99% of it done. We spent $1.9 million of that project. We carried the balance over into 2014. But what our city crews did in preparation, because B&B just did the asphalt, our crews had to muster and keep ahead of a paving crew that was very aggressive. They repaired 189 catch basins, 266 manholes, and repaired 183 valves. And when we were done, this is my proudest moment to announce this. Instead of giving you it in meters, we broke everything down in blocks because people just can't understand. In blocks, we repaved 80 city blocks in 2013, and we certainly got notice for it. But we didn't stop at paving our streets. This year, thanks to our donations from our community and some city funds, we also spent over $200,000 on the Rotary Trail. Now, this is why I had it broken down in blocks, because of course when you ask an engineer, he'll tell you we did 1,445 meters. Well, what's that? I'm 61, I still don't get metric. Give it to me in blocks. So that related, he broke it down, and that related to 10 city blocks that we did with the Rotary Trail. And we're getting lots of compliments of the new areas, the West Hill, where we pushed the trail through. And it's an exciting program for us. Some of the other things that we're finishing off, in 2013, we've now completed 97% of a $28 million expenditure on our water treatment plant, $2.5 million on our new wastewater screening facility, which is 97% complete. We spent $500,000 replacing water mains, which was 5 city blocks. We spent $300,000 on cement curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, which relate to 6 city blocks. We spent $170,000 renovating the airport terminal, which was funded by a passenger facility fee. So that was actually funded by a fee that we collect from the users of the airport. Another unique program that we did is we spent $100,000. It's a small one, but it's worth mentioning because we've changed our focus. We spent $100,000 repairing downtown sidewalks, and what we've done is we're removing the paving stones that are not weather friendly to our environment. They blow up in the cold winters and they're hard to replace. And we actually replaced them with colored concrete, and you put a stamp on them. So when you walk by, they still look like paving stones, but they're actually concrete, and they'll last 20 years longer than a paving stone. So we are spending our money wiser. 2014 is going to be one of our busier years because we're taking on even more major projects, and we have a unique way that we're funding some of them. We're spending $4.8 million in the acres doing a trunk storm sewer main. Now the reason that we're doing this is we don't want to run into the problem that we ran into the West Hill, where we had flooding issues for years, and then we had to spend millions of dollars putting a new system in down 28th Street. We're thinking ahead of our times. We know what we have to put in, and we're preparing for that. We're spending $4.4 million on our sewage pump stations. Now this project is 100% funded by our gas tax that we get. So we're moving forward with that project with gas tax, so that will not affect the taxpayers. Of course, we're going to continue our $4 million asphalt program. So you can imagine what it's going to be like after we finish next year, how many more blocks we get done. We're spending $1.8 million on our 2 viaducts, one on Central Avenue and one on 6th. And we're going to do this work during May and September, so there will be disruptions coming to the downtown, especially when we're on that one viaduct. But to not affect the taxpayers in 1 year, we've spent the funding over a 3-year period. We had some money in 2013 we put to this project, 2014, 2015. Because to put $1.8 million into 1 year's budget, we just couldn't justify that and spending the taxpayers' money, so we're doing it wiser. We're going to spend $6 million on water main program, and that's what we spend in about a 5-year average. We're spending $4 million on the river outputs. They're all along the river. Some of them need repair. I think they've heard the debate on us, on council, on giving some of these programs away. And then the last program, we just approved $375 for a citywide hydraulic analysis. And what that is for is we haven't looked at our water and our sewer system for about 20 years in the city. Well, we want to do some major infills and not try to expand our city. And then our new subdivisions, we have to make sure that we have the capacity with water and sewer to do these. We sell a parcel of land and we go to service and realize that we don't have the sewer water capacity. That's going to be a problem. So this is an important one, and this one, when it's completed, should be good for us for about the next 10 years. So it's a program that's well worth looking at. Okay, communications. So I want to move to communications. We're friendlier. We are working on our customer service. And we are moving into the 20th century when it comes to electronics. We're going to task our director, and he gets a little frustrated because we want it faster than he can deliver it. But at the end of the day, we've got to get into the electronic world. We've got to be able to make our payments online. We've got to be able to communicate more. We have our director of corporate services here with us. She's going to start linking it up to all social media. so we can communicate better. We've been listening more to the public. On a personal note, in 2013, I see quite a few of the groups here. I don't think there's a group in this city I haven't aggravated. But I think that's my job. I think my job is to stir the pot. Because when you stir the pot, you get people talking and you'll come up with solutions. And sometimes we've had these problems going on for 4 or 5 years and we can't find the solution. So I think it's my job to aggravate them enough to come up with a solution. And so we are moving forward on that one. So I'm excited about our communications. We have a lot more to go. One other thing we delivered on in council did in this year, 2013, is the structure of our new police commission. Richard Hennique is away somewhere south. I wish I was with him. He's not back for a couple of weeks. He's the new chair of our police commission. We now have 4 civilians and 3 council members on the police commission. So it certainly is a community board because the civilians now outnumber the politicians on it, and it's very interesting on how they're starting to move things forward. So we're really excited with that. One of the other things I campaigned on was private development. Well, I'm pleased to report we're halfway there. We have a ways to go, but we're moving forward. We are selling parcels to developers. Some of our biggest developments that are going on are by private developers. If you look on the project on 28th Street, they've now moved into phase 2, preparing for phase 3, and that's Lakeview Estates up by the soccer center. We are going to sell 2 larger parcels of land to private developers in the acres. The city is going to develop some of its lots. We already have Somali and another subdivision. I believe we have to have some lots, but we don't have to have them all. And so the majority of the lots that will be under development in 2014 will be by private developers. And we continue to meet with them on how we can move this agenda forward and do more with it. And so we're certainly excited about that. Another program that we're very excited about, and we lead the province, and that is in snow removal. I travel our province and I get accolades from every city that I go into. And they say, if you people want to complain about snow removal in the city of Prince Albert, just go to Saskatoon. You don't have to go far. To the point, lots of cities now have followed our lead and are put more money into snow removal because they see the importance of doing residential. And when you talk about leaders in our community, I'll touch base on the snow removal because it's the same thing. We now have 4 cities following our lead on roads. We have Saskatoon that tried to bring in a base tax, could not, but they got 3.4% of their budget is going to roads. Yorkton's doing a similar program, and we're getting calls from the other cities to discuss our program because infrastructure is such a demand. So that's an exciting part. When we talk about roads, I have to talk about the twinning of the highway. And I have to thank the provincial government, and you can pass that on. Yesterday was a perfect example. The trouble we would have been in as drivers on the road yesterday, and I was on that road yesterday, if we didn't have a twinned highway. Because those semis would have passed us and put us in the ditch because that wind was so powerful. I had smaller vehicles pass me, and it moved my vehicle. Your vehicle shook all the way home because of the wind. At 8 o'clock at night when I got to Duck Lake, we were down to 60 kilometers an hour because it was pouring rain. And it was safe to know all you had to worry about was the guy behind you. Because unfortunately, I don't know what the province is going to do. For some reason, we've made our divided on the premise that it's going to be safer. But the problem is, as residents, we've picked up speed. They think it's divided. We can go faster. And we shouldn't be passing when we do, but I appreciate the province for doing that. I also took credit, now the summer's over, I'll give it back to the province. I took credit all summer from tourists phoning me, thanking me for paving Highway 2 into the city. And how nice it looked. And I said, well, thank you, that was part of our paving program. But now that winter's over and people realize it's part of the highway, I'll pass the credit on and again thank the province for doing that because it fitted right in with our paving program. Lots of people heard about it, and once the new highway opened and they turned left to go into our city, they were on new pavement all the way into our tourism center. So again, I'll thank the province for that. And I won't take the credit in 2014. I left the Highway 2 North, I left it to you. $6 million they spent on that. So the province, when it came to highways, we did get our share last year, so it's hard to complain. Economic development for 2014 is going to be our priority. We have a gate committee set up, chaired by Mr. Orr, and we have some of our members here. And we're really excited about the alliance that we have with our two RMs. We've been out and seen Tour Buckland, who owns quite a bit of land. The RM of Prince Albert, we've met with. They're in a little different situation. All their land is privately owned. But at the same time, we all realize that we have to work together. And we're excited about that. The provincial government has given me a big headache in 2013. What happened in 2012? They went and took $40 million worth of permits out. And that was for Pine Grove expansion, the expansion of the men's jail, Pine View, the new seniors home being built, and the new gym at Carleton. And why I said they've caused me a headache, because they took the permits out in 2012 and did the work in 2013. And so when you see our figures come out for 2013, you're going to see a big drop. It's similar to an article that I seen in the Herald that wasn't quite accurate, is that it talked about small businesses. We had jumped up to over 300, and then we jumped back down to about 250. Well, 250 was our average. So when I seen the article in the paper, I said, something's wrong. So I looked into it. It was tied to all these projects. Because every one of these contractors, sub-trades, has to get a business license to do work in the city of Prince Albert. So the two sort of follow each other. The more construction that we have on, the more businesses that we have registered. So they sort of follow. So when you see our statement come out for our results in 2013, I've already explained to you the fact that we're going to have two little blimps. But it's still exciting because the work still goes on. The gym will soon be open this year, shortly. And you got to think of the new jobs that are going to happen at the men's jail and the ladies' jail. Those are new positive jobs. And so we're excited about that. And so we want to thank the province for investing in our community on that part. The other part I can't be amiss about is when we talk about economic development, which I'm going to come back to shortly, we have to talk about tourism. And we have Jane Remenda here, who is the Executive Director of Tourism, but also the Hotel Destination Marketing Fund, and has really helped attract events. 2013, we had the First Nations Summer Games, was a big one. They were very instrumental in the Prince Albert PGA Tour Pro-Am that happened in July, and the 2013 Canadian Pee Wee Championships. But wow, get ready for 2014. And when I talk about 2014, I want to talk to you on two ways. What's happening, and we need volunteers. So pick one of these events and get out and volunteer and show our community, because it is exciting. Of course, you ask a lady a question, they don't listen very well. I asked Jane to give me 4 highlighted points. She gave me 15. I said to her, I can't speak about tourism for 40 minutes. So I've highlighted 4 or 5 of the major events. Of course, coming up shortly in February, we have the Saskatchewan Winter Games. Short of volunteers. Get out and volunteer. It's an exciting time. We have the TELUS Cup this year. We have the Canadian Native Fastball Tournament, which will be exciting. It'll bring people from all over the country. We have the Saskatchewan Senior Men's Fastball. We have the Saskatchewan First Nations Winter Games. What do these programs do when I talk about economic development? They fill our hotels. They fill our restaurants. They fill our gas stations. So that kind of justifies some of the tax increases they got, because we're helping them. And it's going to be exciting in 2014. We're going to have lots of visitors in our community. So put on your best smiles and say hello when you see somebody walking down the street. Ask them where they're from. And welcome to our beautiful community, because it is beautiful. And I'm excited about all these programs that are happening. Now, another exciting thing that we continue to lead on is that I want to talk about, and I'm going to steal the thunder from one of my colleagues, is we continue to work hard on better ways to cut costs and do things. So one of the things I have to thank the North Waste Management Group for is adding plastics to our policy. And as you can see, I have the thing here. You should all be soon getting money in your households, the do's and the don'ts, what they'll take and what they won't take. And it's excited because the more we send to the MRF and send off to be reused is the longer our landfill will operate. And we save millions by not expanding our landfill. So this is a very important program. And sometimes it's just as simple as reading the brochure. And I'll give you an example. In my house, I have a garbage bin, I have a recycle bin. The mistake I was making is I would tie up that bag and I'd throw it in my recycling. Then they phoned me and said, you can't do that. Because when it gets to the MRF then, it goes to the landfill because we don't know what's in it and we don't have the manpower to open. So anything you put in your recycle bin, the most important thing to remember is make sure it's loose. So I went out and bought a different container. Now I go outside and I'll go dump it in my bin. Instead, it was easy for me to put it in a bag, but when you think of it, that bag's going to landfill, it's going to last forever. So it's a better program. So look for this brochure and help our city save our landfill. Now, before I go to questions and answers, because I said I'd leave my last 10, 15 minutes for question and answers, I just want to emphasize to everyone our economic development plan. The key to the success of any city is, of course, growing your workforce. And you have to go with sustainable jobs and good jobs. We continue to grow in the retail market and some of the service, but we have to get more into manufacturing. We have to work hard with our colleagues in the provincial government to see how we can assist the mill to get it up and running, because the side effects of getting those 200 jobs at the mill are tremendous. Because then we can cut wood, we're going to haul wood. So we have to work with them as a partnership to see how we can move that forward. You've heard probably this week a little blimp. I don't want people to get excited about Carrier Lumber. They are moving a couple of employees just to their Big River plant, but their intentions are to bring them back here. So that's been on the minds of some people. They've heard the news release that Carrier's shutting down. That's not true. Carrier Lumber's here. They've got a big operation. And the reason that they're here to stay is strictly they have no railroad in Big River. And they're going to load their lumber on rail and ship it all over Western Canada and the United States. So the operation will be here, and I'm quite sure those jobs, once they get the mill up running full blast and producing the amount of board lumber they can in Big River, that we're going to see it coming through on trucks. And we're going to continue to work with our provincial colleagues on roads. You notice I haven't brought up one subject, and I won't bring it up because it's been beaten to death, but if you haven't noticed, you can look at the cartoon when you leave. It's probably the cartoon of the year. And I'm going to continue to take that cartoon, even to Regina, with me. That's why I had it made. And I got to thank the Prince Albert Herald and the cartoonist for allowing me to use it. Okay, with that, I'm pretty well done my presentation. So what I'll do is, for the closing 10 minutes here, I'll ask, is there any questions from the audience? And don't be shy. Last time I didn't give you any notice and I got some good questions. So is there any questions or inquiries about what I've spoken about or what I haven't spoken about? I'll give you a minute to think about that, because when I look around the room, I got to share one other partnership thing that we have. We have regular meetings now with our 2 school boards, and soon to be 3, because we're going to meet with the French school division as well. We meet twice a year with Parkland Health District. So we're trying to engage all our partners in the community to see what they're doing and what we can do to move their agenda forward. I'm very pleased, as I mentioned earlier, that we have all our 4 bargaining units here from our union, and I want to thank them for taking time out and joining us, because they are a part of our team, and we're going to move items forward. Okay. Oh, Brent McDonald.
Mayor Dionne is going through your budgets heavily. Is there tax projected increases or decreases coming up?
Decrease? Well, what we've done this year, I'll just explain the budget process. What we did is we probably had 8 meetings. I'm not quite sure on the number. But what we did this year is we went through the base budget. And the reason we went through the base budget is we want to look at service levels. And sometimes when I say we challenge the people, is we brought up that should we cut picking up leaves and grass? That would have been about an $185,000 savings. Some people will say 150, but it's up there. So that was one of the things we put on the table. Well, once our phones finished ringing, that item was off the table. But it was good, and that's why I say sometimes you have to get controversial to engage the public, because lots of the public just sit back and think that, their voice doesn't count. Well, it does count with this counselor. So if you have something that you're worried about, you bring it up. Will there be a tax increase? There will be. It will be as small as possible. And that's why, if you notice in our infrastructure, we're spreading things over 3 years so we don't impact the tax base. So we are looking at it, and unfortunately, gas has gone up. Sask Energy, Sask Power. So maybe next time the MLAs are up here, you can ask that question. I'll divert some of the heat onto them. But unfortunately, we have all our 4 unions are up for bargaining this year. So they'll be looking for a cost of living increase. So there will be an increase, but it will be as small as possible. That's our goal that we're working on. Because one thing that we did do through our budget process, we asked every department head, if we told you you had to live with your 2013 budget, could you do that? And the answer was yes. So that's where we're starting off, and then we'll see where our bargaining goes from there. We will be delayed with our budget because, of course, as you know, Jim Toy, who we're taxing to death now that he's on board. We send more files to his office. We wanted him on board for this process. And so we'll be finalizing our budget this year in March. But then we are going to change our policy and pass a resolution in council that from this year forward, all budgets have to be approved for the previous year in the first meeting of December. And so that most cities can reach that goal, so I don't see any reason why we cannot. So in the future, all our things will be done by the end of December. So when you go into the new year, so when we go into 2015 in January, our budgets will be approved. Then our staff can work all winter in getting our capital projects ready to go. Oh, Chris, shake him.
Question, we have still, I believe, dangerous goods transported through our community. Is there anything the city is doing to see that we don't have serious accidents which we've done?
Yes. On the dangerous goods things, I have caught a call from the Chief of Staff of the Ministry of Highways. They are preparing the list for us. We will be meeting shortly with them and preparing it. Our main concern about the dangerous goods, just so people understand it, they're going to go through our city. They go through every city in our province. Our concern was not them coming through our city. Our concern was, and I want to emphasize this, our concern was for our first responders, whether it was police, whether it was fire, whether it was ambulance. It is very important that we train our first responders to every chemical that comes through our city. So if something happens, that we have the right agents to deal with them, whether we need foam or a powder or something to neutralize it. And it's very important. And just so you know, once we get this information, we are also going to share it with our RMs. We supply fire service to the RM of Prince Albert, but the RM of Buckland have their own fire department. So it's important for them to also be trained on this, on the chemicals that are coming through. So we're going to do this as a joint operation for the region, because it's going to come through. We know it, and nothing we can do about it till we can divert them around our city, referring to my poster again, and that should solve the problem. But in the interim, we're going to work with our regions to make sure our first responders are safe.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
You spoke about the paving program. Prince Albert's been a city for over 100 years, and some of our older areas still have gravel roads. Was any of that money spent in the older areas, or will some of the carryover be spent in the older areas? Create roads there.
Okay, I can tell you talk to Charlene Miller. I can't ask the question of the mayor, but you can. No, but what we're going to do is none of the program was, because it's a base tax to replace what we have. But what we are doing in 2014, we are putting an incentive program together, because at the end of the day, the money that we spend on oil or rhino snot or whatever the product we put down or call it, and that's what it is called, and it's just a short-term fix. And if you would have added up what we spent in the last 20 years on that product, we could have paved all those streets. So what we're going to do is still do local improvement, but we're going to put in a real good incentive in play. We are ready if we get new infrastructure money from the government. That's one of our priorities. And then at the end of the day, you're right. We're 100 years old and all our streets should be paved. So we are working forward on that. We're going to put a good incentive program together in 2014 to get that done. Look at that. I said you'd be out of here at 1 o'clock.
One more question.
Oh.
You alluded to a little bit about city development. Wondering if you can expand it all on that. And in particular, there's been some discussion around leisure facilities, joint use, multi-use facilities.
Yes. We have talked, thank you, facilities report. Coming in February. And the good thing about our new facilities, and that's one of the reasons that we're pleased to have Jim Toy with us, North Battleford has built a beautiful facility. So he's very experienced on that. And they built it in an area where they could expand and add more facilities. So it is a need in our community. We have identified it. Of course, the hockey people want a new rink. The swimming people want a new pool. Our curling rink is aging. So we do have quite a demand on facilities. And we are going to start preparing for that. Because whenever you do that project, you don't build them in a year or 2 years. You have to get a plan together. One of our goals that we're going to be tasked, of course, everyone wants theirs first. We are going to work, the Raiders and ourselves are putting a committee together to work on that, because there is a chance that we can attract in some of those fields private development. And of course, there's been conversations about P3s. If people were to ask me today, Mr. Mayor, if you had to vote on the new facility, which one would you vote on? And I would have to say today it would have to be a leisure park. Strictly the reason we have 2 old swimming pools in our city. And they're stressed. And one day one of them is going to go down in the near future. And the one just doesn't have the capacity. Is there a chance we could build both of them together? There is a chance. But when you talk about facilities, you've seen it. It took us 6 years from start to finish to build the Art Center. It took the same process for the soccer center. So we are going to start the process. We are going to ask council, and this is going to be a stretch, but we're going to ask council that we should start building a reserve for that day. Because we know it's coming. And so we should start putting money away so that we're not going to burden our taxpayers the day we make that decision. But it's also going to see what the federal and provincial government is. If they make available money for sports facilities, then that could move our agenda forward. If we can build on 50 cents on the dollar, we're crazy not to do that. And then we'd look at how we'd fund the balance.
So if you build a new leisure center, are you going to charge people from out of town more money to use it?
I knew I was going to get that question. I'm not going to point to the city manager again. But North Battleford brought a fee structure in. So that is on our agenda, just not for the new facility, but all our facilities. And we will be working with our partners. We're going to ask them to appoint members to the committee, because it is a touchy subject. And it's a subject that I try to smooth down, because one of the things that you'll do, and I just spoke at one of the RMs, and they said, well, Greg, aren't you worried about the economic impact? And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, we buy groceries, we shop, we buy gas, we do this. And my response back is said, well, this is my concern. You just described a PA taxpayer. You described him. Except for you're missing 2 points. You're not paying for the shortfall in the operations, and you're not paying the levy that people have on every tax bill to pay for the soccer center. And I said, that's what we're missing. So we believe it's fair that you pay for the operation. If you're not going to pay for the capital input and the levy to build the facility, you should certainly pay to use it. And so that is coming. Will it come this year? We don't know, because we're going to go to a committee with the chamber and the two RMs and ourselves to come up with a formula on how to do it. But it was part of my campaign, and it's still on the radar.
So you would go to the RM for rural people money then to use those facilities, like a flat fee?
Well, no.
How can you tell a rural person walking through your door from an urban person?
Okay.
You know, who are you gonna charge?
I gotta watch how I answer this, because I have the RM of Buckland there, and I went to their Christmas party this year, and just so you know, out of all the events I did, they had the best one. Just because one of the counselors had his wife bake me my favorite carrot cake, which I only shared one piece of, otherwise I ate the rest. No, there's quite a ways to do it. Some people have suggested that we up our fee and then we give a discount to anyone that shows a Prince Albert identification. So there's different ways of doing it. The fees are probably the easiest ways to get to them, where you pay a user fee to get in. Where it's going to be taxed, and we're going to meet with minor hockey, we're going to meet with the soccer center people. We've already mentioned to them that we're coming on how do we collect a fee from them, because they pay a registration fee and they pay hockey. But at the same time, hockey is probably going to be the hardest one to deal with, because we also, as a city, use the Buckland rink. And so we do share in some areas. So we're going to have to be unique, and that's why it'll probably take another year to come up with, because we don't want to offend anyone. But we are committed. It is fair and it is right that if you're going to use our facility, you should pay for that privilege. And that's the bottom line. It is coming. Well, that was easy. Okay, again, I would really like to thank you on behalf of myself and my staff and my counselors and my team for attending today. And I encourage you, if you have any suggestions or ideas on how we can move our city forward, please don't hesitate to call us. And again, thanks for the Chamber for hosting this. Thank you.